It's always a guarantee. As you get closer to Election Day, the races will tighten. That's true. Why? Because polling is all over the place, all right? I say that as a disclaimer. Now, here's what we understand, that the state of the race is in one of the key races, Ohio, Senate. Republican candidate J.D. Vance is starting to get some momentum back towards him. Had what many believed was a tough night against Congressman Tim Ryan, the Democrat, most recently, but that's the latest, is that the polls are swinging. Republicans need that seat if they have a realistic chance of regaining the Senate. Ohio is important for another prominent Republican as well, Representative Jim Jordan. Under the GOP majority in the House, he could become a lot of things. Some would want him to try to run for Speaker. I don't know that he wants that kind of deal. He's shaking his head. Next chairman of the House Judiciary Committee. He'd probably be liking that, nodding his head. Good to know. And he's promising big moments under a Republican majority, and he joins us now. But first things first, brother. It's been a long time. I've missed you. Did you miss me?
Well, same here. I was just telling the crew that, one time I think we had like a 22-minute exchange on your show. So congratulations on the new show. It's good to be with you.
I appreciate it. You and I have often got after it, but always disagreement with decency. And I appreciate,
exactly right.
I appreciate you being here, and I appreciate you making the case, and I hope it's a common occurrence.
It will be. We'll be glad to come back.
He doesn't mean it. All right, let's go. I'm just kidding. All right, so Congressman, first thing, you believe Vance takes the race. Now, I want to look at this early voting turnout, see what it means to you, okay? Because you and I share the feeling that polls, who knows, man? They don't get the Republican sample right very often unless it's a local poll that's done the right way. So forget the polls. Let's look at early voting turnout, okay? Two big counties here. How do you say it? Cuyahoga County? Cayuga County?
Yeah, Cuyahoga County.
Cuyahoga County and Hamilton County, okay? Cuyahoga County is up 31%. Hamilton is up 115%, race over race in early voting turnout. Early Democratic Party turnout in Hamilton up 124%. These numbers are relevant because these are larger population areas that have Democrat populations in them. If they are overperforming, what does that mean?
Well, I don't know for sure, but what I do know is I think JD's going to win. I think he's hit his stride. I think his campaign is off to where they want to be, off to and running great. I think Tim Ryan is, as JD points out, Tim Ryan's voted with Pelosi. He's voted with Biden. He's voted for the Inflation Reduction Act, which didn't reduce inflation, actually made the problem worse. And it's a good year when Joe Biden has to go to Oregon to help the Democratic candidate for governor, a state we haven't won in 40 years. And you also know it's a good year when Tim Ryan spent the entire summer acting like he was a Trump Republican. So I think JD's going to win. He's the kind of guy we want in the United States Senate. I think in 20 days, he is going to be our next United States Senator. You can feel that building around the state. And frankly, you can feel, I think, momentum building for Republicans around the country. Because as I often say, I think this campaign is real basic, Chris. This election's real basic. 4+ freedom. 4 key issues. We went from a secure border to no border. We went from stable prices to a 41-year inflation rate. We went from $2 gas to $5 gas, and we went from safe streets to record crime. And in addition to that, you got the FBI that's going after your First Amendment liberties, your Second Amendment liberties, Democrats coming after you, assaulting your due process rights and weaponizing government against we the people. That all weighs on what's happening. And I think voters are going to show up, like I said, in 20 days. And I think November 8th is going to be a good night for Republicans.
Do you have anything nice to say about America? What's going right?
Well, it's a great country made up of great people. The American people, we the people. I always have confidence in the American people. That's why I think they're going to make a change. They see that American people have common sense, and they see what's going on. They don't like paying $4 and $5 for a gallon of gas. They don't like a 41-year high inflation rate. They're going to make a change, and they certainly don't like the assault on their First Amendment liberties and Second Amendment rights that they've seen Democrats undertake. So I trust the people, always have. And I think they're going to, as I said, I think they're going to make a big change in this election.
Crime is big for you. It's one of your 4+ that you just mentioned here. Federal government has almost nothing to do with crime in terms of preventing it. Sometimes you have something to do with performing it. But in terms of what you can do, you could give them more money for body cameras. You could give more money for recording crimes and keeping crime statistics that we don't right now, and some of it is because your party doesn't like it. Why is that a big issue at the federal level?
Well, because you're right. It's not a federal issue, but it's a concern for the American people. And what's happening is when you have no cash bail, when you're letting bad guys, go figure. When you let bad guys out of jail, more crime happens. It doesn't take a genius to figure that out.
One thing
I
on
think
that.
American families understand that, particularly American moms understand that. And some of these district attorneys, some of these prosecutors who fail to prosecute people who do bad things. That is a huge problem. So the more we talk about it, the less chance, I think, maybe that behavior changes with some of these district attorneys. Some of them have been kicked out of office because the local folks in those communities were so upset with what was taking place.
In defense of prosecutors, some of them, you're right, have made decisions about what to prosecute and whatnot. That's on them. But cash bail is not on them. Now, cash bail is a little bit of a boogeyman for you, and we have to be careful about it because you have a disproportionate amount of minority men who can't get out for weeks, months, sometimes even longer because they don't have the money to get out, but they did not commit the crime. So, has it been too big a net? Yes. But does it mean that everybody who gets to get out are all bad guys? I think you overreach. Fair point?
Well, look, I supported the First Step Act under President Trump, which I thought was good. And
yes.
It was designed to be, as you described, a fair way to do things and the right way to do things and the morally right way to do things. But you shouldn't let criminals out of jail, Chris. Everyone knows that because they're doing bad things.
I agree with you.
I'm just saying. We have record levels of crime. And
I agree with you. I'm just saying not everybody.
I've seen, that our constituents have seen, those videos where people are just ransacking
yes.
Department stores, attacking folks, the violence we've seen in your city, in New York, the violence we've seen on the subway.
There's no question.
That has to stop.
I hear you. I just don't want it exaggerated because I worry about a pendular effect too far back in a different direction. People do, if they don't have the money, they wind up sitting in jail and having horrible things happen and their lives compromised when they didn't even do anything. So I don't want overreach. Is crime up?
Who led the charge?
Is crime up?
Yes. For the kind of reform legislation you're talking about? It was President Trump and Republicans got it done in the last Congress. So,
hold on a second.
In the last administration.
Trump deserves credit. He worked through Jared, his son-in-law, with Democrats, with Van Jones of CNN greatness. So it's not all just Republicans getting it done. And that is my next point. That is my next point. If you are right and you come back into power, right? You're in power right now, by the way. You're an elected representative of the House. You know, it's not like if you're not in control of everything, you're in control of nothing. You're always in control of the choices you make. And this idea of you have to fight the other side, and if you get in, you're going to investigate Hunter Biden, you're going to investigate the Bidens, you're going to investigate the border, how's that going to make anything better? Everybody's sick of political investigations. Nobody trusts what any of you do when you investigate the other side. Why contribute to that again?
Well, because the American people deserve the facts. I mean, part of our constitutional duty, when I take the oath of office on January 3rd in a new Congress, assuming we win in this election, we do that. When I take that oath, part of our constitutional duty is to do those investigations, do the oversight, so the people, we the people, get the facts, get the truth. I know, for example, 14 whistleblowers have come and talked to our office. FBI agents taking whistleblower status, coming and talking to us about how political the Justice Department has become. It's important that we get to the bottom of all that so that it doesn't continue.
But you won't
so that we
get
don't
to
have
the
a
bottom
politicized Justice Department.
You won't get to the bottom of it.
Pardon?
You will not get to the bottom of it. But just like
we have a constitutional duty to expose the truth and the facts to the American people, and I'm committed to doing that.
I know, but it's not as simple as what you raise your hand to do, because it's how you do it. And we both know that just like with now, your party will not accept anything that comes out of any investigations. And the Democrats will likely play it the same way, though I haven't seen that yet. So I'll have to see what they do if you get in and you do it to them, like is happening right now. Look, you're a good example of this. Let me ask it to you evenly. Are you willing to admit on the show right now that President Biden won the election?
Chris, we will do the investigations in a fair way. Right
Jim,
now, you have a committee. You raised the point like the Democrats aren't political. Are you kidding me? They kicked Republicans off committee.
I never said they're not
Republicans on a select committee for the first time in American history.
Hold on.
We will do our investigations in a fair way, in a constitutionally fair way.
All right.
Consistent with the Constitution.
Hold on.
But we're going to be aggressive because you have to be aggressive to get the truth.
I hear you. You don't have to talk to me about being aggressive, Jim. I'm totally for it. But to be fair, you got offered a lot of concessions by the Democrats to participate in the January 6th Commission, and you didn't because you wanted to play to advantage of saying you were shut out. But I'm asking you another question.
No, they kicked two of us off. They wouldn't let, for the first time in American history, Chris.
They made you an offer to have seats.
The Speaker of the House would not let the minority leader put on a select committee the individuals he or she selected. First time in history. So that is just unbelievable. This is because they always talk about threats to democracy.
This is personal to you,
This is the party that kicked Republicans off committee, wouldn't let them serve on a select committee, trying to end the filibuster, trying to pack the court, trying to get rid of the Electoral College, trying to let illegal immigrants vote in elections. This is the party that supposedly protects. This is the party that's given us a lawless border, and they're talking about democracy?
Listen.
You got to be kidding me. So we have, as I said, we have an obligation. We have a constitutional duty to do the investigations that need to be done so that you and your viewers and everyone in this country gets the facts. And we're committed
absolutely.
to doing it.
I'm just saying that political investigations, government investigations, don't do a great job at that, and I think they're part of our problem. I think a lot of this stuff would be left better off to the DOJ or to special committees of people who aren't currently in office. But one last thing before I let you go,
Chris, if Devin Nunes, Mark Meadows, and others, if we didn't get involved, I don't think the country would ever have known that the dossier was baloney, that they lied to a FISA court. The Inspector General did report after report that said multiple times they misled the court. We would have never got that information but for the fact that we dug into this stuff. We would have never known that the IRS was targeting conservative groups a decade ago.
The White House wouldn't have gotten the information.
Do these kind of things.
The White House wouldn't have gotten the information if Devin Nunes hadn't been breaking his oath and going and talking to them about what was happening in Congress, which isn't exactly oversight.
Oh, come on.
But I want to leave you alone on this. Do you want to say that President Biden won the election? Should be pretty easy.
Yeah, I mean, look, Chris, yes. I've never said the election was stolen. What I've always said is we should investigate it. And a week after the election, I called for an investigation. I called for an investigation.
You said crazy irregularities. You signed on to a Supreme Court case that was questioning that it wasn't valid. I'm asking you, did he win the election? Yes or no?
He's the president of the United States, of course. But I think there were all kinds of concerns that should be investigated. And it wasn't just Republicans who had concerns. It was Democrats as well. So for the good of the country, the point you made earlier, for unity in the country, we should have investigated. Not these investigations that took place in a couple states. An investigation at Congress, which would have had the intensity of a congressional investigation so we could get the facts and the truth to the American people. I think that would help unify the country. You may not think that, but I think it would have. That's what I called for, because there were all kinds of concerns with the 2020 election.
January
and I've said that for 2 years.
Is such a no-brainer of what happened and where we should all be, and we couldn't even get that straight. But look, I don't mean to be a cynic. I believe in government. I believe in oversight. And I want to believe in the men and women who are there, but I only get to judge on what I see. And hopefully we see better going forward than what got us to here. Congressman, you are always welcome on this show to make your case. I appreciate you doing it. Jim Jordan, good luck going forward. God bless the family. I appreciate you.